Hey everyone, and welcome back to Tech Talk Central. I'm Nathan, and with all the buzz about 8K TVs lately, we thought it'd be a good time to ask, is it really worth the upgrade? Or is good old 4K still a solid choice?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? And to get to the bottom of it, we're doing a deep dive into two Sony TVs, one 8K, one 4K. We've got all the specs, the marketing hype, and most importantly, what actual users are saying in their reviews.
All right, so let's start with the 8K contender. This is the Sony 75-inch Z9K, and it's coming in at about 3,498 Tekel Oucher. That's a pretty penny.
It is, and it's interesting because even though it's an 8K TV, the Bravia Core streaming app they highlight is actually only for 4K movies.
So even Sony themselves aren't fully on the 8K train yet.
Right, but they're definitely pushing the technology with this TV. They're really emphasizing this cognitive XR processor. It's supposed to be some next level AI that enhances pretty much everything from color to contrast.
And they're making a big deal about the mini LED backlighting. They say it's super dense and precisely controlled to give you incredible contrast with deep blacks and bright highlights.
Yeah, they even have a specific name for it, XR Backlight Master Drive. It sounds pretty impressive.
It does. But here's the thing. The 4K TV we're looking at also uses mini LED technology.
Oh, really? So it's not just about the resolution then, it's about how they're using that mini LED.
Exactly. So the 8K model seems to be focusing on really granular control for superior contrast.
Okay, interesting. So contrast is the 8K's game.
All right, now let's bring in the 4K competitor.
Yep.
This is the Sony 75-inch Bravia XR70, and it comes in significantly cheaper at $70.98.
That's a big difference.
It is. So this one also has a mini LED backlight, but it's a QLED display. And they're really highlighting this XR Triluminos Pro technology.
Triluminos Pro, what is
It
that?
basically expands the color palette the TV can display, so you get more vibrant and nuanced colors.
So while both TVs have these intelligent processors for upscaling and image enhancement, the 8K seems to be all about contrast, and the 4K is leaning into color.
Yeah, it's like they each have their own specialty.
And that's where the user reviews come in because specs only tell us so much. We need to hear what people are actually experiencing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's jump into those reviews and see how these differences play out in the real world.
I'm excited to see what people are saying, especially about picture quality. I mean, both TVs are getting praised, but how do users describe the difference? Is 8K truly noticeable, or are 4K viewers just as happy?
Yeah, and speaking of experience, let's talk about sound quality because we're seeing some mixed reviews there. Some people are raving about the audio while others are complaining that it's thin or lacking depth.
Hmm. That's interesting. It seems like neither TV is guaranteeing amazing built-in audio, so no matter which resolution you choose, you might want to factor in the cost of a soundbar.
Yeah, that's a good point. And here's another detail that popped up in the 4K models reviews. Several users mentioned that it lacks the anti-reflective coating that you find in some of the higher-end Sony TVs.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a bright living room with lots of windows. Reflections can be super distracting. Makes you wonder if the 8K model handles reflections better.
Yeah, it's a good question. Unfortunately, none of the 8K reviews we found specifically mentioned reflections, so it's a bit of a mystery.
Well, that's something to keep in mind then. Now, one thing that both TVs got dinged for was their complex menus and kind of confusing instructions.
Yeah, it seems like even cutting-edge tech can struggle with user-friendliness.
It's true. One reviewer even said they wished the instructions were more straightforward, like, come on, I just want to watch TV. I don't want to solve a puzzle.
I know, right? Okay. Okay, so moving on, both of these TVs are marketed as being perfect for PlayStation 5. They both have gaming-specific features like game menu and low input lag, but the 8K model goes a step further and highlights its HDMI 2.1 capabilities.
Right. HDMI 2.1 allows for things like 4K resolution at 120 frames per second variable refresh rate, VRR, and auto low latency mode, ALMM, all designed for the smoothest, most responsive gaming experience possible.
But the question is, are those features essential for the average gamer, or are the 4K model's gaming features sufficient?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how serious you are about gaming. If you're a casual player, you might not even notice the difference.
Okay, so we've got these two TVs, both with amazing picture quality,
Yeah.
but the 8K is pushing contrast while the 4K is highlighting color. Sound quality seems to be a bit of a wild card for both.
Yeah.
And we've got some unanswered questions about reflections and ease of use. What stands out to you so far?
Honestly, I'm really intrigued by the 8K upscaling claims. A lot of reviewers said it makes a huge difference even when watching 4K content. I want to understand what's driving that perception. Is it just a sharper image, or is there something more to it?
Yeah, and I'm still hung up on that reflectivity issue. If the 8K model does a better job with reflections, that could be a major selling point, especially for people with bright living rooms.
Definitely those practical considerations matter just as much as the tech specs. And of course, we can't forget about that price difference. Is a leap to 8K visually compelling enough to justify the extra cost, especially when there's limited native 8K content?
All right, that's the million-dollar question. So let's dive deeper into those user reviews and see if we can get some answers.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's dig into those user reviews and see what people are actually saying about their experiences with these Sony TVs.
I'm really curious about those 8K upscaling claims. Several reviewers mentioned that it's just incredible even with 4K content.
So even without true 8K content, that processing power seems to be making a difference.
Yeah, one reviewer was watching 4K Blu-rays on the 8K TV, and they said the level of detail was just astonishing.
Like way better than a regular 4K.
They actually compared it side by side with a regular 4K TV and said it was like seeing the content for the first time.
Wow, okay, so the upscaling is legit, but what about actual 8K content? Is anyone even finding stuff to watch?
Honestly, not really. There's not a ton out there right now. Some nature documentaries, a few sporting events, maybe some tech demos, but that's about it.
It's almost like you're future-proofing, hoping that more content becomes available.
Exactly. You're betting on 8K becoming more mainstream.
All right, so on the 8K side, picture quality seems to be a clear winner, even with upscaled content. What about the 4K Bravia XR70? What are users saying about its picture?
Lots of positive feedback there, too. People are mentioning vibrant colors and impressive clarity. One review talked about watching nature documentaries and being blown away by the detail.
Nature docs are always great for showing off a TV's capabilities.
Right, and this review mentioned they were streaming, so it wasn't even native 4K content, but the TV's processing seemed to handle the upscaling really well.
Okay, so both TVs are getting high marks for picture quality, even when upscaling this. This is making it tough to choose. What about sound quality? We saw some mixed reviews there.
Yeah, it was a bit all over the place. Some people were happy with the audio, while others thought it was lacking.
Was there a pattern to the complaints? Like, did certain types of content sound worse?
It's hard to say for sure, but a few people mentioned that the audio sounded kind of tinny, especially for dialogue-heavy content.
Huh, maybe they're putting so much emphasis on picture quality that they're having to make compromises on the audio side.
It's possible. It's something to think about. Would you be okay with getting a sound bar, or is having great built-in audio a deal breaker for you?
I pretty much always plan on getting a sound bar with any modern TV. It seems like those slim designs just don't have the space for powerful speakers.
Yeah, that's true, but it is an extra expense.
Okay, now let's circle back to that reflectivity issue we talked about. Remember, several reviews for the 4K model specifically said it doesn't have an anti-reflective coating.
Right, and we were wondering if an 8K model might handle reflections better. Did any of the 8K reviews mention anything about that?
It's funny you should ask because none of the reviews we looked at said anything about reflections. It's possible that the 8K model does a better job, but without any direct feedback, it's hard to know for sure.
So that remains a bit of a mystery. If reflections are a big concern for you, you might want to do some more research.
Always a good idea to be thorough. Now, one thing that both TVs got criticized for was their complicated menus and instructions that weren't very clear. Yeah, one reviewer actually said they had trouble navigating the settings, and they wished the instructions were easier to understand.
It's kind of ironic you have all this amazing technology, but sometimes it's not even user-friendly.
It's like they expect everyone to be a tech expert.
Right, exactly. All right, let's move on to gaming now. Both of these TVs are marketed as being perfect for PlayStation 5, but the 8K model makes a big deal about those HDMI 2.1 features we talked about earlier.
So do those features actually make a difference in gameplay?
Well, one of the 8K reviews specifically mentioned the low input lag and said it was really noticeable in fast-paced games.
So it sounds like the HDMI 2.1 features are delivering on that promise of a super smooth and responsive gaming experience.
They are, but here's the interesting thing. None of the 4K reviews complained about input lag. So while the 8K might have the edge for hardcore gamers, it doesn't sound like the 4K is a slouch for casual gaming.
That's a good point. It all comes down to what you need from a TV. Do you need the absolute latest and greatest tech? Or is good enough actually good enough?
That's the big question, isn't it? Okay, so we've talked about picture quality, sound quality reflections, ease of use gaming. What's the overall takeaway here? What should our listeners be thinking about as they try to decide between 4K and 8K?
It's a tough call because both of these Sony TVs are really impressive. You're going to get an amazing picture no matter which resolution you choose.
Right, but I think the key difference here is that 8K upscaling, if you're mainly watching streaming content, or 4K Blu-rays, the 8K model seems to take that content to a whole new level.
And that might be the deciding factor for some people. But if you're on a tighter budget, the 4K model is still a fantastic choice. It delivers stunning visuals, especially for the price. And remember, we still don't have a clear answer on how the 8K model handles sound quality or reflections. Those are areas where the 4K model might actually have an advantage.
So it really comes down to your priorities. Is future-proofing worth the extra cost? How important is audio quality to you? Do you absolutely need the best possible gaming performance?
These are the questions you need to ask yourselves. There's no right or wrong answer. It's all about finding the TV that fits your needs and your budget.
Exactly. We're just here to give you the information so you can make an informed decision. So what's your gut feeling right now? What's sticking with you from all this?
I'm curious to hear your thoughts too. We've talked about resolution, we've talked about features, we've looked at user reviews, but there's one more piece of the puzzle. We need to consider something that could really tip the scales one way or the other.
Ooh, this is getting good. What is it?
We need to talk about content. We've talked about resolution and features and what people are saying in reviews, but we need to address the elephant in the room, right? The content situation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even if you have an 8K TV, are you actually watching anything in 8K?
That's the big question. And right now, native 8K content is incredibly limited.
Like we're talking a handful of nature documentaries, a few major sporting events, some tech demos, and that's pretty much it.
So even with this amazing 8K TV and its awesome upscaling, you're still spending a lot of your time watching stuff that isn't true 8K.
So is 8K just too far ahead of its time? I mean, are we paying a premium for technology that we can't even fully utilize yet?
It's a gamble. You're basically hoping that in a few years, 8K streaming is going to be everywhere.
Or maybe 12K comes along and makes everything obsolete. Who knows?
It's a risk. And meanwhile, 4K content is readily available. You've got streaming services, Blu-rays, even some cable providers are offering 4K.
So with a 4K TV, you're guaranteed to have tons of stuff to watch right now.
And based on the reviews, those 4K TVs are doing a great job with upscaling, so you're still getting a fantastic viewing experience.
So while 8K might be the flashy new thing, the future-proof option,
It might also be a case of diminishing returns at this point.
you're paying a lot extra for a very small amount of native content, so that's something to consider.
But that doesn't mean 8K is a bad investment if you're someone who always wants the absolute best and you're sure that 8K content will become more common.
Yeah, then go for it. But for most people who just want a great TV with lots of stuff to watch.
4K is still a really solid choice.
And, technology is always evolving. What's cutting edge today is standard tomorrow.
So who knows what the future holds? Maybe 12K will be the next big thing, or maybe we'll get some completely new display technology that changes everything.
The possibilities are pretty exciting, but for now, the decision is yours. 4K or 8K, weigh the pros and cons, think about what's important to you, and choose the TV that fits your needs and your budget.
Exactly. We just wanted to give you all the info so you can make an informed decision. We hope this deep dive was helpful. And if you want to see the latest prices and deals for these TVs, be sure to check out the links in the description below.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to Tech Talk Central for more in-depth comparisons and tech discussions.
Thanks for watching.